This is
Oh,
it.
great.
This is him. He's little Yachty. He's 26 years old. He's a nice man. Nice young man.
What's his number one song?
Um, his mom's Shannon.
So
He has a song called Little Boat.
Little Yachty has a mom named Shannon.
Yeah, Shannon's his mom.
I love that.
Yeah, I bet she's a sweet woman.
Okay. Here we go.
Anyways, I was asking you who the modern day ushers were, and I don't mean church usher. I mean like Let It Burn.
I would like to know.
Yeah, I think that you.
I would like to. I want the next celebrity pastor to actually be the next celebrity usher. I like the idea of like a trending usher from church, like not a preacher. Like this is just an usher.
He's just the best.
He's just the best usher, and that's like the new thing people are mad about. Oh, you guys like celebrity ushers.
Ushers wear shoes that are way too nice.
Yeah.
Can you imagine like ushers in sneakers? You know, like really dope. Like every person who's seating our guests are wearing like dope Jordans. That's actually a cool idea.
I love it. Okay.
We should look into the budget on that.
Look into the budget on that. We should allocate a budget just for that.
We should make sure our welcome team.
No, there's like a designated giving on our giving.
If you want to support our
celebrity usher. Oh my gosh.
So
okay,
so ushers. Who's the you said Yachty. This is a joke, obviously. But you said Frank Ocean.
I think that I don't also agree. I don't agree with myself.
What's a Frank Ocean song? I only listen to
What's a Frank Ocean? I only know of the Atlantic Ocean.
It's Frank. It's not cold.
Yeah, up in the it's right off the coast. It's right off the coast of
You're gonna say Germany?
Yeah, I was, because of Frankfurt.
It's a landlocked nation.
Well, but the Frank thing really, I thought that was a good connection.
I'm proud of you.
Yeah. Well, welcome to the Church Girl podcast. We are going to be talking a little bit about relationships today. I'm excited about it. Here's the question I want to ask. How do you know if they're the one? How do you know if they're the one? I think that this is an important question. First of all, a lot of people, let's just talk about it.
A lot of people are asking the question.
A lot of people are asking the question, or they've stopped asking the question because a lot of people have stopped believing in the one in the first place.
Or that there should even be one.
Or that there should even be one.
They're not looking for the one, they're looking for the many.
Yeah, it's possible. Okay, but how do you know if they're the one? You and I, we met when we were 19 years old. We started dating when we were 19, about to be 20. Mm-hmm. And we didn't get married till we were 24. So we have about 4 years together of trying to figure out
if we were the one
for each other.
Yeah.
And so why not? I know I have my perspective and my story, but I think it's helpful to hear yours.
Well, I like just kind of how you started. I think that a lot of people, just to assume that anyone is looking for the one is a really interesting place to kind of start the conversation. Because I do think more than ever, people are more just open to the idea that even getting married is optional. And of course, it's all optional. And I think it would be a misconception to think that like you're incomplete until you're married. I completely, there's other podcasts for that. But I do think a lot of people, even believing in the idea of a one, it is really drifted away, and this search for a one has really faded.
Yeah.
And I would guess that that's more rooted in like hurt and brokenness than it is for like a desire to be like, well, maybe like if I try one and they're not the one, then I can switch. I think a lot of people think that, but I don't think that's where that's coming from. I think a lot of people have experienced so much brokenness in their homes and in their families that like I think that there's a lot of people who are just kind of like, yeah, there's probably not the one, so like don't get your hopes up, like I don't know, like
try your best, but if it doesn't work out, that's fine too.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's where a lot of people are. But I do believe that that God will bring two people together
Well, here's when we talk about the one, let's define that real quick.
Okay.
Because a lot of, I think, very, like when you think of church kids and you think of me and you, actually, the way that we grew up, kind of having conversations about the one, I was so worried, right, about like it's gotta be
About messing
the
it up.
one. And we kind of believe a theology that God has created one human being on the planet who was designed just for you to marry. But do we actually think that? Do we believe that? I think that
Is there one? No. No, like
there's many. There could be many, is what I mean.
whoever you choose to be the one is the one.
Exactly.
The person you choose to marry. So there is the one. And if you're a follower of Jesus who believes in God's sovereign plan for your life, you choose to trust the fact that when you are getting married, hopefully God's a part of that whole process.
Right.
Hopefully you have wise counsel a part of that whole process. And hopefully you're madly in love with this person. And when you are making the decision to get married, you are saying, this is the one.
Exactly.
I have found the one
Yeah.
God created.
It's kind of like the idea of like before, I think that God can work with all kinds of options, right?
Totally.
Like there could have been many options that would have been God's best for me.
Totally.
Right? Or God's best for you. But once you choose and you're married,
Yeah.
that's the one.
Totally.
You couldn't have missed out on the one is kind of what I believe. I believe that, like I've heard people say before, like, how do I know? Like, what if I accidentally married someone that God didn't really have for me? Well, are you married?
Yeah.
Then sorry, that's not even like the conversation. Like you should have been having that conversation, before you got married. But once you're married, you didn't mess up God's plan.
Exactly.
You are in the will of God. If you're married, you're in the will of God.
The person you're married to is God's plan for your
Yeah.
life.
Like, so let's just make that very clear.
Yeah.
In no
Don't
scenario,
second-guess it.
in no scenario does God want divorce for you to get into his will,
Totally.
right? Does sometimes life happen or people break their vow? Yes, we could talk all about.
Yeah, the Bible's clear on when divorce is acceptable,
Exactly.
maybe even necessary. Again, not this podcast.
Not this podcast.
But the encouragement, yeah, I have heard it. People questioning, like, did I marry the right person?
Yeah.
Yes, you did.
Yes, you did. That's the answer.
Should I stay? I don't know. Did I make a mistake? No,
Nope.
you didn't. You probably made a mistake in the way you were talking to your spouse. You probably made a mistake in the
Yeah,
way that you've been
good.
living your marriage. You've probably made a few mistakes in how you are as a husband or a wife. But no, the person you're married to is God's plan for your life.
Yeah.
And they are the one. So is there a one? The one you are with is the one that God has for you.
Yeah.
And but how do you find that one? How do you make that decision?
Yes. How do you know?
Yeah.
How do you decide? Yeah.
That you know. This was super stressful for me.
Yeah.
Were you stressed about it? My dad's story is this.
I like how you kept going. Were you stressed about it? Because I wasn't stressed about it. I knew you were the one
Oh,
from the beginning.
me too.
No, you didn't. That's the whole point. You didn't want me to answer that. But it is true. I did know.
See, I grew up with this story. My dad always told the story. My dad, if you don't know my dad, he's pastored a church in Miami for the last 25 years. He's been in ministry for the last 40 something years. My parents have been married for over 50 years. I mean, they're just incredible leaders. But my dad, he's such like a man of faith, and like he's a hero, and he's my hero.
Yeah.
So his stories really impacted me. And his story that he always told about how he met my mom was that he was like preaching one day, and he was somewhere, and my mom was like in the choir, or maybe she was up in the balcony or something. But my dad saw my mom from a distance.
Yeah.
And he says, when I saw her, I knew that was my wife. When I met her, I knew that was my wife.
Right.
And so that's the narrative that I grew up with.
Yeah.
And I think that's true for him. I believe him. I think a lot of people can maybe relate with me where I hear a story like that and I'm like, that sounds kind of like a fantasy, like a fairy tale. Like, what do you mean? Like, you saw her and you knew that she's the one. Like, what is that?
Sure.
It felt unrelatable. But my whole life, I kind of felt like there was going to be this like Mufasa opening up the sky for Simba moment. Taylor, this is your wife. And I know it kind of sounds silly, and I didn't really think it would be like that, but I thought it would be just so obvious and evident. And so I was really stressed about it. I was
Yeah.
really, really stressed about it. And I remember when I met you, I was immediately like all about you. I was like, this girl's awesome. We connected. We had so much fun. The way that you and I met was so fun. Our friend in college invited us to go hang out.
Right.
He's like, bro, I met these girls. We're freshmen in college. I met these girls. They invited us to go get Cold
I'd
Stone
love to
ice
hear
cream with us."
like his version of the story.
I know, me too. We should bring
You
him
know?
on.
Yeah, we should bring him on.
Bring him on. We
Yeah.
will. We'll do that. We'll bring him on.
Yeah.
But when he invited us, I like it was so fun. When I met you that night, we have a photo from that
Yeah.
night. Like we really hit it off. Then you broke my heart because at the end of the night, after like things were going great, you
Yeah.
said, "Well, sorry, I gotta go. My boyfriend's here to pick me up." And I was
story.
I was devastated. I was friend zoned, but I got from the friend zone to the end zone. It worked out. But yeah, I was super stressed and I was super worried about it. And I remember like
Yeah.
falling for you and honestly being so in love with you, but still questioning, like, is she really the one?
Yeah.
You know, like, am I gonna make this mistake? And I think a lot of people have been in that place. So
Yeah.
the question is, what are you looking for? And
Yeah.
and I do think there's a few things that we should be looking for. Obviously, the most important thing I think is spiritual alignment. I mean, like at the end of the day, like if you're looking for the one, if you're a follower of Jesus,
Yeah.
ladies, men, just I can I just say how I feel it?
Yeah.
You want to find someone who is 100% aligned with you spiritually. Don't get distracted by people who are good looking and fun who don't love Jesus. I just think that like if if you think you're going to find the one but they don't believe in the one who created them. They don't believe in the one that you have given your life to.
Right.
The most interesting, most deepest, most special thing about you or about the person that you are seeking after is going to be the fact that they are a follower of Jesus. And if the
Yeah.
person, and if you're trying to get the attention of someone who doesn't believe in Jesus, it really means that they're going to get your attention and they're going to be interested in you, but they're not going to be interested in the most important part of you.
Yeah.
The fact that you're a follower of Jesus.
Yeah.
So how could you ever say that like you're actually in love and that you have a lot of depth relationally if the deepest thing about you is something
Right.
that they want nothing to do with?
Yeah.
I just think that's like there's a lot there.
Yeah. I remember me and you, like on that journey together.
Yeah.
I think it was helpful. There's certain times in your life where you just kind of are around people you're more on the same page with, right? So you and I, we went to a small Christian college, Christian university. So everyone there was kind of some framework of what we believed or,
Yeah.
right? Probably
If you're in the school, you have
pretty
to say you're a
specific.
Christian. Yeah.
Pretty specific
Yeah.
framework. Not it, even with tradition, when you even think of like just tradition in church and kind of what that would have looked like. So there were a lot of similarities there. And I think that was a bigger factor than I realized, right?
Totally.
And I think the more mature you are in your walk with Jesus, the more specific you are with what you're looking for too.
Yeah.
You know, like for me, one of the things that was really like important to me was that I just didn't need someone who's just like, well, yeah, I'm a Christian. Like, yeah, of course, like we're going to go to church every Sunday, but I was actually looking for someone who was going to lead our family. You know, so I do think because I was a pastor's kid, I was probably looking for, and I don't know that I knew it at the moment, but I was looking for someone who was going to be in ministry, you know, and not everyone has that same
Totally.
call and assignment, but that alignment that you and I had spiritually was actually a really big part, I think, of God bringing us together.
Totally.
Was I was looking for a leader. I was looking for somebody who wanted to build something, you know, like
Totally.
was really responsible and
Yeah.
believed in calling.
Totally.
Believed in calling.
There's a lot there because it's
Yeah.
so much more than just follower of Jesus.
Exactly.
It is.
But it does depend on your level of maturity, you know. So I do think some women sometimes they don't really know where they are on that journey, and so what they're looking for is kind of confusing.
Yeah.
I think. I don't know. Maybe that's another
But I think
podcast too.
there's some good advice there. Like, if you know that that's going to be like the first thing you're looking for, spiritual alignment, like you're
Yeah.
a follower of Jesus, like you should probably get into environments where there's a lot of followers of Jesus.
Yeah. Well, something that was really
Like,
specific to us was
yeah.
like I wanted somebody who was filled with the Holy Spirit. And not every Christian
Totally.
Jesus follower would be even that specific. Like, hey, like I love that you know, like check off on your like poll that
You
you're
pray
a
before your
Christian or you
meals
pray.
and things
Yeah,
like
like
that.
that's fine. No, I want someone like let me be like totally real. Like I want someone who speaks in tongues.
Yeah, totally.
I want someone who prays in
Yeah.
tongues.
Praise
You know,
in
like
tongues and kisses in tongues.
yeah,
Yeah.
you had to do it.
I had to. It's too easy. It's a dating. You're talking about how to find the one. I'll teach you how to speak in tongues, girl.
Yeah. Okay. So spiritual alignment was really important to us.
It's everything.
Yeah.
I think it's the most important thing. If you start there, I think the next things, they kind of naturally fall into place. But that spiritual alignment, you're right. It's follower of Jesus. It's what's your church involved? What do you believe about the church? You know, like there's so much out there right now. Like there's people who love Jesus but don't love the church. Well, that's a problem. like your theology's all backwards. That's not going to work out for you. Then there's people who don't believe in the gifts of the Holy Spirit. Don't believe God's alive and active. Like well, that's a problem.
If that's what you believe and you live,
Yeah,
I don't.
we're in different worlds, you know. So
yeah.
again, that's not full alignment. So it's
Yeah.
not the box Christian. That's why I'm using this term spiritual alignment. It's what is that really like?
Yeah.
I believe in Jesus. I believe in the Bible. I believe in I believe in the power of the Holy Spirit. I believe that God's leading.
I believe in
and guiding
tithing.
my life. I believe in tithing. No,
Yeah.
that's a big deal.
Yeah. Couples have crazy fights over that.
Oh my gosh, it's a thing.
Yeah, because it's one of the hardest areas in marriage anyway.
100%.
Okay, so spiritual alignment.
So I think that's the first thing. I think spiritual alignment.
You got more?
And then the next one's like I don't think they're very like, I don't know, like spiritual, but I think they're important. Like and I think all three are necessary. I think that it's all important. I think you need spiritual alignment, and I think you need emotional connection.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that saying emotional connection because it means more than like, oh, we're friends and we can get along. Like I would hope that when people are finding the one, that it's someone that they can really emotionally connect with, that they can laugh with, they can do life with. It's like like you and I were actually friends.
We were.
Friend zoned me. What do you think about me as your friend?
I remember talking with my friend Christine because we had hung out with you that night, and I remember afterwards telling her, I was like, man, like I really love being around Taylor. Like Taylor, like because you know when you meet someone and you're like, you know when you're just drawn to people in friendship and in all kinds of ways, right? But I was just like drawn to you. Like I love Taylor. Like he's gonna be our friend. This is like the first month of college, you know. So you're kind of you made a big impression. So you're one of the people that I was like
15 years ago. I'm still
still loving it.
And I'm the dad gang now. Like I have 4 of your children. I had 4 of your children.
Yes, God bless you.
You 4 of our
gave
children.
me. Thank you for that.
I'm in the dad gang.
You're in the dad gang now.
Shout out to
yeah.
them.
Yeah, but I remember being super drawn to you and wanting to know you and being your friend. I remember you and I.
Like, were you attracted to me?
I wasn't thinking like that.
Okay. I was definitely thinking like that about you.
I wasn't thinking. I wasn't looking for. I just wasn't looking for. I was already in a relationship, so I wasn't looking to be.
Of course, that guy.
Don't even make it a thing. So yeah, I do remember that. But I do remember. I think the first time you made a different impression on me than just a friend impression was that time that we were at the leadership conference together, leadership forum.
Again, we got into the right environment.
And I remember thinking, you know what? I can marry someone like Taylor. And then I literally said it out loud to my roommate. I said that to her. I wish I could marry someone or be with someone like Taylor. And in my heart, I was like, you know what? I can't. I can marry Taylor. I'm going to marry Taylor. I just Yeah. The truth is once like you had my heart, you definitely had my heart. I was crazy about you from the beginning. 10 years later,
I love you so
marriage,
much.
I still feel
Let's
the same
cut this
way.
for a little bit and go make out.
Okay, well, I want to get to this one part.
Yeah,
I don't
let's
want to
wrap
take
this
too
up.
much
Let's
too
wrap
much
this
longer
up.
here. But how do you know they're the one? We talked about spiritual alignment. We talked about emotional connection.
Yeah,
But I do
friendships.
want to, I know maybe you have some other ideas, but I do want to talk about the idea of just choosing. I kind of want to get there because you and I were on this journey. How do you know if they're the one? Eventually, what had to happen for you to know that I was the one and you were ready to make that step
Yeah.
and to get married? I think that some people find themselves there. So,
100%. We had this spiritual alignment, we had emotional connection, and then the third one, because I just have to get it out of me, is that there's physical attraction. Because I think that like,
yeah.
you want all of that,
Yeah.
because I just think that like that perfect trifecta. She loves Jesus. We're like great friends, like emotional
Right.
connection, and like I'm super just into her. I think you're super hot. It burns. Let it burn. Let it burn. Like you're
Well,
amazing.
and
So
it's
having that's important.
it is important. And it's important to say because some people actually are like, yeah, they love God.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
loved
we're
one
great
side.
friends, but like, I don't really want to kiss. And it's kind of like,
Yeah,
I
that's a
don't,
big red flag.
sounds like a friend.
Yeah, yeah, totally,
Like,
totally.
sounds like a friend.
Yeah, totally.
So
Yeah,
you're just going to be friends.
yeah. So I think that's important, and so
Yeah.
I think when you have those three components, I think you can move on. But then I was still even though so like we
Yeah.
had that, I was very like stuck,
Yep.
and I had this moment where I was actually with my brother Rich in DC. Don Tree's parents are Denny and Deonza, I happened to be with Deonza for like on a car ride somewhere, um, and she told me her and Pastor Denny's story, and 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 what she was saying is, hey, Denny, like it took him a really long time to decide
Yeah.
to marry me, and the story I got from her was very different than the story I got from my dad. The
Yeah.
story I got from my dad was like saw her and knew immediately, but Pastor Denny's story was more like, hey, like saw her, loved her, but was still unsure, and that's how I felt. I was so afraid of making the wrong decision.
Yeah.
I was so afraid I was gonna mess it up. I was so afraid that like, well, like what? Maybe I haven't met enough people. Like maybe like, and even though I was so in love, I was still just so scared. And I wanted the feelings to back it up. And I think that's where a lot of people are. They want the feeling to back up the decision making, and they want the feelings to lead the
Right.
decision making. And I think that's where we get caught up, is where we think that the feelings will lead the decision, and that's I actually think where more mistakes happen than good things happen.
Agree.
Some of the biggest mistakes most people would say they made is because they followed their feelings. It felt right in the moment. They went with their gut. And that's not a value driven life. That's not a vision driven life. That's not a purpose driven life. That is a feeling driven life.
Great.
And I was on that car ride with her. She just told me their story. And she said, you know what, Taylor? Sometimes when you make the decision, the feelings follow.
So good.
Sometimes when you make the decision, the feelings follow. And sitting in the car with her, we were stuck in traffic in Miami. Sitting in the car with her, she said that, and I looked at her and I said, Pastor Deonza, I'm going to marry Kristen. And honestly, in that moment, something changed.
Yeah.
I mean it with all my heart. There was this confidence. There was this feeling. It was like the feelings followed. I made the
Peace.
decision, and I never looked back.
Yeah.
And almost 10 years
Almost
later,
10.
and 4 kids later,
Yeah.
you're the greatest decision, the greatest gift God's ever given to me.
I love
You're the one. One, you're like a dream come true.
Maybe we should
Just wanna be
do
with
some karaoke on our next date night. But I love you. I think that's so good, so true. And hopefully, our story is encouraging to you on your journey. I think it's helpful to have different perspectives. Some people, it's like they see them, they know, that's it. And others, it takes time, you know? And I think, especially for people who love God, who believe in Jesus, it's good to know that, you know, there's different ways that God leads us,
Yes,
guides us, and that He's always trying to teach us. He's on a journey with us. And so, how do you know if they're the one?
spiritual alignment,
Yes.
emotional connection,
Wrap it up for
physical
us.
attraction. But then you've got to just follow the Holy Spirit's leading, and you've got to make a decision.
Make a decision.
Once you've made the decision, they're the one.
Yeah, there's peace. There's peace there. Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us today. Church Girl YouTube podcast. If you like it, share it. Make sure to hit subscribe so you can be up to date with all of the things that we're doing and all the content we have coming out. Thanks for tuning in.
See you later.
Church boys.